Welcome back. I'm Wyatt Goolsby in for Lauren Ashburn. Advocates against human trafficking here in the United States are shining the spotlight on the nation's homeless crisis. My next guest founded a shelter for homeless teens in Redmond, Oregon, a town where 1,600 children attending school are homeless. Andi Buerger is the founder of Buelah's Place in Redmond, Oregon. She joins us now via Skype. Andi, Buelah's Place is a shelter for homeless teens that have been abused. You yourself were a victim of child abuse at a young age. What inspired you to create this shelter to help teens?
We really felt a need to help people. We didn't know what, but we've always worked with teenagers and we love them. In fact, we get offered a lot of them from parents, but we felt like we needed to help the ones that were on the streets that did not have any connection, perhaps. And what we found out, Wyatt, was that a lot of them have been discarded or abandoned by families that either have severe dysfunction, abuse, alcoholism, drugs, maybe they're incarcerated, but honestly, they're people that should be loving these kids and they chose not to. So these are the kids that are at risk from trafficking, criminal predators, other kinds of not great things. And so we rescue them and help them get back on their feet. I came out of a bad background and I didn't have a place to go to.
Sure. You say a lot of teens come to Buelah's Place as victims of drug addiction as well. Can you describe, you'd mentioned in general, but can you describe what many of these homeless teens you are speaking with in Oregon specifically are struggling with?
Mhm. In our area, because we're spread out, they're struggling with lack of resources, lack of consistent shelter. If they are on the street, they sleep in parks and cars and trees, wherever they can find. Our weather system is a little bit hard in the winter, so they really are at risk. And within 48 hours, we know that if a teen is on the street, they're most likely to be introduced to or taken into trafficking, and a lot of them do it out of desperation.
How important do you think faith is in overcoming these kinds of obstacles?
In my life, Wyatt, faith was incredibly important because God met me as a 5-year-old child. That was my first suicide attempt because the abuse, violations, everything was so intense. And back then, they wouldn't have called it trafficking, but there wasn't any place to go without bringing the adults that were doing the abuse. So he met me there, met me where I was at, and I promised him I would do whatever he called me to do in my life at that very young age without really knowing the complete picture of who our loving God is. And as I grew up, it was a long ride, 17 years of that. And I grew up thinking, I want to help kids that are already here that maybe don't have anybody they can reach out to or that actually understands what it's like to try and run away, to get away from predators, especially the ones you're related to.
Such a powerful message and an inspirational story as well. Andi Buerger, founder of Buelah's Place, thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you, Wyatt. It's been an honor.